Good evening. Calling the school committee meeting to order. It being about 7:03 this evening. Foxborough High School Media Center. The agenda for this evening is as follows. 7 o'clock visitors, 7:10 approval of minutes, 7:15 teaching and learning highlights, Model UN Conference, Ms. Julie Grant and Ahern Middle School students, 7:30 review of the policy FFA, naming existing facilities, Ms. Tina Bellinger and Ms. Beverly Lord, Policy Subcommittee. 7:40 p.m. naming existing facility, Community Turf Field, honoring Sam Burns, presentation by FHS students. 8 o'clock, FY14 budget update, Mr. Bill Yukna. 8:10, Borough School Statement of Interest, Mr. Bill Yukna. 8:25, proposed 2014-2015 school committee meeting dates, Ms. Spinelli. And 8:35, other matters. We'll begin with visitors. Does anyone wish to be heard? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of minutes. I ask that you look at the regular meeting minutes for February 24th. Are there any revisions or additions to the meeting minutes?
I have no comments, no changes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept the regular meeting minutes.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Okay. We're going to move on to teaching and learning highlights. Model UN Conference.
Yes. Usually, I would like to invite our first two adult guest presenters up to the guest table. So just drag one of those chairs up so you can both sit, and they'll introduce themselves in a minute. Model UN is usually something you would expect to see from high school students, and these are our Ahern students who are here tonight to tell us about their experience. And I just want to thank Tina Bellinger, because she's actually the one that called it to my attention that this would be a great teaching and learning highlight. Couldn't agree more. So I'll turn it over to Julie Grant, and she'll give you a little bit of background. Remember that the microphone is right there, so you both might want to share the microphone a little bit. Welcome, Sue and Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie Grant, 5th and 6th grade technology teacher at the Ahern Middle School. I was invited by Mrs. Anderson to join them in their Model UN conference back in December. And we started in December meeting.
December 18th was our first
December
meeting.
18th.
Yeah.
And Susan can tell you a little bit about how they decided to participate in this year's Model UN at Boston University.
Well, actually, I had never heard of Model UN before, and my husband and I were looking online one day, and we kind of came across it because our daughter's very interested in countries and learning international stuff. And we saw some video on it, and it was really amazing to me to see these kids, not only just high school, but middle school kids, talking about international relations and countries, and so it really inspired us to try to do it ourselves. So when we thought about trying to do it ourselves, we're like, well, who can we ask to be in our group? And so Kendall got out the little Ahern book, and she was looking through it, and she's like, well, let's see, I think I'll ask Mary, and these are all the girls behind me. And so we came up with 5 girls that committed to doing it, and it was a whirlwind of an experience. From December 18th through the end of January, they researched, they drafted, they revised, they had to learn footnoting with Julie's help. We talked about parliamentary procedure, which is the way they run the meetings. We tried to help them with public speaking by having them standing up and talking in front of us and giving feedback. They also had to learn some persuasive writing and speaking too. I wasn't sure if they'd have to do speeches, which they didn't have to do, and they were very thankful for that. But it was a lot to cover in a short amount of time, but the girls got, I think, so much out of it, and I will let you hear them talk in a minute about that. One thing I'd like to say is that it was such an amazing experience to go to the Model UN conference that I would love to see our school district get involved in something like that. because I just think it's such an amazing experience, and the kids learn so much about international relations and different countries. I just think it would be a great thing for us. I did include in the handouts, I brought a couple of those binders, 3 binders with me. I don't know who has them right now, but there's some information from online, and there's a plethora of information about Model UN online. So there's some information in there about how to begin a Model UN group, and there's lots of resources for that too. So
Mrs. Abrams and I spoke about having a club next year because the experience was so great for all of us. And now that we know a little bit about it, it should be even easier.
yeah, I mean, we met once a week, which to me wasn't enough, but that's all we could fit in with the girls' busy schedules. So from December 18th through the end of January, the conference was February 1st. We met once a week, and I would have loved if we had more time to cover that stuff. And if you could even build up to the researching part and the drafting and writing, revising of how to do a research paper, all that could be incorporated into a longer club or class that's situated in the schools or in after school.
That'd be
So-
great. I bet that wouldn't be too hard to accomplish.
I did speak with the English teachers of the girls about, citing sources and getting some information with them on how they write their papers and use the Microsoft Word tools to cite their sources so that we're all on the same page.
Since we don't actually know what they had to do, maybe we could hear from the students now.
Right.
Yes, and I will introduce them. First, I'm going to introduce my daughter, Kendall. She covered 2 topics. She was on the SPEC-POL committee, which is the Special Political and Decolonization Committee of the UN. She talked about establishment of long-term peace in Myanmar and establishment of democracy in Egypt. So these are really hefty topics. All of the girls have really hefty topics. Here. Got enough chairs?
So why don't we hear from each of them and what your part was, because we love to hear directly from the people who did it. So why don't you each introduce yourself and say a little bit about your experience. Can they move the microphone? It's hard, but you can try.
The 3 of you, just get comfy right in front of that chair. and
4,
then
all
everybody
4
can
of
hear
you.
you at home.
Just,
Friendly audience.
as we say, scooch in.
Very friendly audience. There you go.
Perfect.
No, it's
Yeah, it's hard. They don't really travel very well. So just when you're taking turns, just sort of make the microphone point to yourself and then switch it over.
Hi, I'm Kendall Anderson. That's my mom. And I arranged the Model UN with my parents. We found it back like fall, October, November-ish. And I really enjoyed the concept of going to a miniature United Nations because I always wanted a career in politics. And I found it to be good experience to find out how politics really were shaped as far as Model UN would go. And throughout all of January, we were given a topic, 2 topics for me and several other people on the team. And I was given the long-term peace in Myanmar and long-term peace in Egypt. And I had to write about those topics throughout January. It took a lot of effort to try to write about the 2 topics, and I think that's why I tried to group together the most hardworking people I saw. And it took a lot of work and a lot of parent involvement because there was a lot of research involved and also a lot of sort of high school work, like citing and things that we weren't really familiar with as far as vocabulary and the current events went. Would you like to go?
And I just wanted to add, there was a lot of parent involvement in this because we only met once a week. Parents were very involved in guiding their students in writing and revising and in every part of this. There's a sample background guide in that binder that I gave you, and that's something that was sent to all the students in this group had to read like I don't know how many pages it was, like 18 to 20 page background guide on the problem that they had to write about and the country. And so even that was how it started, just reading the background guide and then starting the research.
Great. Let's.
Mary.
Well, Mary.
Yeah,
Go
are you
ahead,
done?
Mary.
Kendall?
Mary,
I'm
tell
done.
us a little bit about yourself, your Model UN experience.
Mary covered human trafficking and illegal trade of weapons. She was on DISEC, the Disarmament and International Security Committee of the UN.
When Kendall first told me about this, I thought it would be a really good idea because I always liked history just like Kendall did, and I've always been like interested in like current events and stuff like that. And so it turned out to be a lot more work than I had anticipated, but it was worth it because the weekend was really fun and I found it like, yeah, there was a lot of experience and it gave you a lot of experience to for public speaking especially. That improved my public speaking a lot, and I think it would be a great idea to start a club and just so kids can learn about this. And yeah.
Agree.
Mary, where was this held?
The Boisman, it was the, what was it?
Boston University Academy.
Yeah, yeah, it was a high school on the BU campus.
Nice.
And do you have an idea of how many students were involved in, or was there a lot of
100,
people?
right?
Gosh, yeah, at
200.
least a couple hundred.
Okay.
Yeah.
There were several school groups there.
Thank you, Mary.
Also, could you tell us what grades you're in when you're introduced?
We're all in 7th grade.
You're all seventh graders.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can switch.
Next, Miss Case.
Emily had probably the hardest job of everyone. She did the Roman Senate, 216 BCE. It was a historical crisis committee that she played one of the generals in the Roman army, and Hannibal Barcus was attacking. So she, it was an interesting committee too because they had people coming in at all different times, changing the scenarios as if it was evolving at that point in time. So you can talk about your experience.
So it was pretty crazy. There were so many different names and so many different places that all affected what was happening at that current moment. And it was a lot of work, like Mary and Kendall said, a lot more than I definitely expected. But it was very cool in the end to have it all come together and see these group of kids all together working on press releases and moving the Navy and troops across the Mediterranean Sea area. And it was really crazy. It was kind of chaotic the first time we did it because there were a lot of new people who really didn't know what they were doing, like we didn't know what we were doing. But in the end, it was all really fun and really, really cool to experience that new point of history that I had never known about before.
That's great. And as Emily Kaiser, as two people with educator parents, I'm sure they're very proud along with all the other parents. That was great.
Okay, Caroline served on the Human Rights Council for the UN, and she had the two topics of sweatshop labor and human rights in Tibet. And I failed to point out that the three committees, SPECPAL, UNHRC, and DISEC, we had to role play the country of India. So you were taking on the perspective of an Indian ruler, someone in the government, official. And so you had to present the topics from that point of view, which was an interesting way to write it. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you learned about the different topics you had in your committee?
Well, it was really fun to go and debate the topics that I had, which was sweatshops in India and how we can improve them, and human rights in Tibet. And it was really fun, but it was a lot of work to prepare for, because we had to write speeches and reports on it. And in the end, it all came together, and it was so much fun to go and do it. Yeah.
Would you two like to have a club like that meets, without being in such a short period, but have a club maybe next year when you're all in 8th grade and you would have the opportunity to really be the founders of a new club at the Ahern? I think that would be kind of cool since you have a little bit of experience in it already. Would you be interested in that?
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah.
Well, I'll have a little lead for you if you do that. So now I'm going to commit myself because now we have to make the club happen.
Mm-hmm.
But my college roommate, her son, works at the UN in Geneva.
That's so cool.
So I think we could certainly set something up, maybe, if your club wanted to have some contact with him or Skype with him. I can't tell you what he does, although I'll try. It has something to do with data. He's a data analyst for something having to do with the economies of third world countries, and he's hoping to get better countries to work on. That's all I know. So you probably know more about what they do, but it'd be a really interesting contact, I think, if you do have a club, to really find out what they really do over there in Geneva. I think it's a fascinating job, and I think that might motivate you even more to really get involved.
And I just want to say one more time, the whole experience was a whirlwind, and I thought they might have to do speeches at the end, so at the end we were rushing to put together speeches, and then I found out a week before the conference that they could bring a research binder. I mean, it was like very, very hectic, but the girls did an awesome job, and I think it would be better served by having like more time to prepare for, So it's exciting.
What I'm impressed about is this theme of a lot of work, hard work, but a lot of fun.
An
So-
initiative.
Yes.
I love that these girls
Yes.
took the initiative to get involved and do this. And you're so far ahead of the curve, because I don't even think the research paper's been assigned in 7th grade yet. So
The full one.
The full one, yeah. So it's really impressive that you guys took this all on yourselves and brought this to Ms. Grant and got her advice and assistance and worked together as a team. I was curious, what were the age ranges there from, was it from 6th grade to 12th grade? Did you all work together?
There were some 5th graders there, so it was a middle
There were a
school
couple of
conference.
young
So
kids.
fifth,
Yeah,
sixth,
there were
seventh.
some pretty young kids. Only
Yeah.
a couple of them, though.
Even there was a group from the Sage there too at the same time we were there. So
And did I read where your papers won an award there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a
wanna
little
tell
bit?
us a little more about that?
Well, me, Caroline, and Mary, we both, all of us got papers. All of us got awards for getting the best position paper for our positions papers that we
Yeah,
wrote
for our committee.
for our committee.
In our entire committee, we wrote the best ones, I guess.
Excellent.
That's
Well, you
awesome.
all have
Very
learned a very exciting, a very important lesson in life. And I promise you it's going to happen over and over again. When you get excited about something and you go after it, I promise you it is always going to be longer and harder and more detailed than you think. But did you like the end result?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it.
Awesome.
And can I do one quick aside? Last week, the YMCA people were here, and we were joking about how one year, Dr. Martis, the second year you ever did this, you were walking with your umbrellas to rain, and Dr. Martis came by and waved at you from his car. So to show my colleagues, I went and found the paper, and here's, unbeknownst to me, here's Kendall Anderson in her umbrella walking to school, and the superintendent riding in his car. So don't think we don't follow you. I am very proud of all the students, all you do in our school system.
That's really cute.
That's great.
We brought some pictures to show you from the event too.
Okay,
so.
good, because we're just about to wrap up. So let's
I don't know if there's sound on this, but I guess not. So
That was
these
in
are
the auditorium.
Yeah, these are some of the pictures of their committees and some of their other.
You all look very professional in those photos.
Very.
Oops. There was music with
Now
this
it's
too.
starting to look like the UN too. With,
You could see some of the kids get really excited.
Yeah.
No, a lot of these kids, this was the Roman Senate.
Yeah, they had the big map in back, and they kept on plotting different things at different points in time.
This was lunchtime.
Chinese food.
A lot of the kids that were at this conference have go to several of these conferences, so
they
they were
do.
very experienced.
Yeah.
They had a lot of side conferences and past notes, official notes. And they got to draw on this map and decide where they were putting their troops. And then the soldiers would actually come in and tell them that they'd been attacked and what are you guys going to do about it. That was after I think one of them was hit. A few sticks left. It's Kendall getting her award. That was all of us after they get their awards.
Is that Jeff back there on the
Yeah.
left?
Token mail.
So are you missing one of your participants tonight?
We
Julie?
are missing
Yeah.
Katie.
Yeah, Katie's not here.
Katie.
Levesque.
Katie Levesque
Thank you.
is right here.
Yeah,
nice.
she attends a different school, but we knew her personally, so we wanted her involved.
She was here with us last year.
Thank you. Thank you very
Wonderful.
much. Very
Nice job.
exciting.
Really good.
I think a new club would definitely expand
I think
the
so.
enrichment and challenge opportunities
Oh,
even
absolutely.
further. So,
So-
I think this is fabulous.
Deb and Bev, to your knowledge, have we never had a UN group?
Not at the middle school. I mean, the
Not
high
at the
school
middle
does
school, high school for a long time.
a lot of things with government and simulations
model,
in government.
Model Congress and things.
Right.
But this would make
So we've
the-
never had really a government, any type of government simulation experience at the middle school. And I
Right.
think what a great idea that this type of thing is for middle school. So it certainly is grade and age appropriate.
And
So
it's-
I love the
and it
idea of
would-
starting their political passions at a little earlier age.
And we need good leaders. If you look at the world right now, we need good leaders.
Social studies curriculum in 6th and 7th grade too
Yes.
has an international focus,
It does.
geography and world history. So
That would
it
enrich-
dovetails very nicely. for the
Enrich
kids.
everything at the high
It's
school.
great. What a great new experience.
Thank you very
Thank you
much
very
for
much.
coming.
You never know where the good ideas are coming from, so thank you.
Good job, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Yeah, you can.
Just leave it.
Thank you, yes.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to move on to review of policy FFA, naming existing facilities. In your packets, you have our policy, and I know Tina and Bev, maybe you could speak a little bit to this.
Do you just want us to read it out loud? It's very, I think it's
That'd be great.
Yes, for
pretty
those at home.
self-explanatory, really, but Bev and I could talk about any questions you might have.
Okay.
So it's policy FFA, naming existing facilities. Says, it is not the practice of the Foxborough Public Schools to name parts of their buildings or facilities after individuals. However, the school committee may consider such a request using the following standards and guidelines. To be considered, an individual must be known and recognized by their peers, administrators, and the Foxborough community as an extraordinary educator/community leader, as demonstrated by their exceptional teaching, educational innovation, and/or leadership, which uniquely impacted student achievement in the Foxborough School District. This is an individual who would be recognized as remarkable and for consistently going far beyond the ordinary in their dedication and service to the Foxborough Public Schools. This level of recognition will be brought and supported by the superintendent, who will make their recommendation to the school committee. Such a request will require a school committee vote, which must be unanimous.
Okay, thank you. And this is a little unique, I mean, in terms of our normal policy, protocol of voting, that it must be unanimous. It states it
Yes.
clearly in the policy versus other policies that we have. So I wanted to point that out as well. Any other comments or questions for Tina or Bev about the policy?
I think the criteria are very clear.
Yes.
And flexible.
Well, yes,
It's,
it's-
they're guidelines.
They're
and
guidelines.
Well, there must be a reason the two of you took a look at this policy.
There is.
Well,
The
yes, why don't we, that
I asked them
segues.
to, knowing that, you know, and we do, I would say being on the policy subcommittee may not be the most exciting role that
It's
you play as
glamorous.
subcommittee, but.
But a valuable one.
It is a
Deb.
really valuable one, and we get together throughout the year sometimes to look at chunks of policies if they haven't been looked at in a while, or to look at some that the Mass Association of School Committees recommends that needs a fresh look. And on occasion like this, there's going to be a policy that the committee will focus on at an upcoming meeting, and that's a reason for the subcommittee to convene, which they did at a posted subcommittee meeting, and just so that they are the ones who are most familiar with all the policies, and they took a look at it to make sure that they're fully informed as to what the policy says and how the policy could be acted upon. So they did that very willingly, and I appreciated that. We spent some time going over it together.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yes.
Thank you, Tina and Bev, for serving on that committee and for subcommittee and for reviewing that. So that segues into our next agenda item, which is naming existing facility, community turf field, honoring Sam Burns, presentation by Foxborough High School students.
Yes, so I'd like to invite the students who are going to begin the presentation, I know there are several, to come up to the guest table. So this agenda item is made at the request of a large group of Foxborough High School students who requested to be on your school committee agenda, so that they could make a presentation to you. And we'll give them a minute. Is your thumb drive in? Are you all set, do you think? Let's see. Okay. So we have several students here. My understanding is there's a few that are going to take each portion of this presentation. So I'd like to introduce Kayla Seppi, your president of the junior class, is that correct? And Danielle DeVellis, who is also working on this project as well. And they're going to get themselves prepped up, but there are several students here who are going to make a group presentation, their request, and that's why they're before the board, to make a public presentation. So welcome, all of you.
Welcome, and maybe when each person comes up, they can identify themselves.
So
that they
you could
can-
reintroduce
Yes.
yourself.
Okay, hi, my name is Kayla Seppi, and
I'm a junior.
I'm Danielle DeVellis, and I'm a senior.
And we just wanted to thank you for having us and giving us this opportunity to speak about this cause, which holds great importance to us. After the sudden passing of our good friend Sam Burns, we discussed ways in which we as a community could remember the legacy Sam has left behind. Dedicating the turf field to Sam is a way in which we will be able to remember a member of our community who touched countless lives. Whether through his TED Talks, inspirational speeches, or his impact on the band, Sam was a true educator to anyone who walked through Foxborough High School, establishing what a true warrior embodies. Throughout this presentation, examples in which Sam has shown qualities of an educator, leader, and inspiration will be discussed and used to show why Sam Burns' legacy deserves to be dedicated to the naming of the turf field.
Okay, so before we get into any details, this is just a visual of where it would be going, just to plan ahead. Right here, this is the high school. This is the back where all the softball fields and baseball fields, and this is the turf before it went in, so you can still see the baseball field. Here's the parking lot where the seniors park and the fence. This is before it went in. That's just a little drawing of where it is, so you get a better understanding. There's
the parking lot and the fence. And there's about 60 feet by 60 feet right here. But then you see eventually there is a track going in. So you can see how close to the fence it actually does get. But over here you have the 60 by 60 feet space. The little heart is where it's going to go. And then we were thinking of making it like a cobblestone path with pavers to raise money for it. And then the concession stand would go there. So that's just an idea of what it would look like. I think that's it. And now we have some other kids that are going to speak individually about each slide we have.
Danielle, can I just ask you a quick question?
Mm-hmm.
So you said where the heart represents where it's going to go. What is it?
It would probably be, it's just we haven't gone into too much detail, but like a memorial type place, maybe where people could sit, maybe like a plaque or a quote or something. But we were going to go into that a little bit later after all this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jake Holdcraft.
And I'm Nick Adair.
As was previously discussed, in order for a facility to be named after an individual, the individual must be known and recognized by their peers, administrators, and the Foxborough community as an extraordinary educator, community leader, as demonstrated by their exceptional teaching, educational innovation, and/or leadership, which uniquely impacted student achievement and the Foxborough High School School District. This is an individual who would be recognized as remarkable and for consistently going far and beyond the ordinary in their dedication and service to the Foxborough Public Schools. And that is from Foxborough Policy Manual on Naming Existing Facilities. We believe that Sam embodied these qualities throughout the activities he participated in. Whether it was the Boy Scouts, music, athletics, or his progeria work, Sam strove to be a leader, teach, and apply his talents wherever he saw fit. Moreover, Sam's extraordinary work ethic and attitude positively influenced everyone he came into contact with.
As could be understood by the testimonies of any number of his peers and their presence today at this meeting, Sam was a remarkable individual. Sam Burns was a dedicated young man who constantly put others above himself. What made Sam such an extraordinary individual is that even while being afflicted by progeria, he still wanted to help others and make a difference. During his TED Talk, while speaking about his future ambitions, Sam profoundly stated that, "No matter what I choose to become, I believe I can change the world." Although he did not live long, he left a lasting legacy and impression on the Foxborough community through his commitment to school, friends, and beloved activities. Above all, his mentality on life, which is clearly demonstrated in his eloquent speech, along with his desire to help others, identifies him as an individual who has gone far beyond the ordinary in their dedication and service to the Foxborough Public Schools. And now.
Hi, I'm Brian DeVellis.
I'm Derek Gilreath.
Alright, so there's so many places we could start with Sam, but we're only going to talk on the behalf of his impact on the athletics in Foxborough. And I'm sure if I were to reference his documentary, I'm sure most of you would be familiar with whatever I mentioned from it, but I'm only going to go in depth on one theme from his documentary, which was one of his best qualities. I'm speaking of his ability to never get discouraged no matter how highly the odds were stacked against him. And when this documentary aired in October, that theme kind of stuck with me personally, and the football team as well, which was not long before we played Thanksgiving in the Mansfield football game. And this is kind of a parallel because we were playing Mansfield, which was number 1 in the state, and we had heard so much about how they're supposed to beat us, like, it wasn't even supposed to be close, but his words kind of stuck with us. And I'm pretty sure, I'd have to check, but I remember Coach mentioned something about Sam before the game, and despite all this pregame hype, we gave him the best game that they played all year, and it was our best performance of the year. And if we needed any reminders of Sam's words, he was right over there in the stands, supporting us and playing with the band, which is what he loved. And another thing about Sam was he wasn't all talk. He led by example. Like, when he dismissed the physical limitations that other people set for him when he was told that he couldn't participate in the marching band. But knowing Sam, he didn't take no for an answer and achieved his goal. And his influence is also reflected not only by the football team, that's just one example, but all the teams in the winter season. Hundreds of kids from the track team, hockey team, basketball teams, and swimming teams all displayed SB, his initials, during their competition to show their respect. And the basketball team even got its initials sewn into their jerseys. My point is that everyone you see, everyone in this community, is so eager to show their support and respect for him, and that's why I believe that we owe a great display of admiration for him, such as this field. Thank you. Any questions? All right, thanks.
So, hi, I'm Varun Nambi Krishna.
I'm Kyle Newcomb.
And I'm Megan Ennis.
So, first, we'd like to talk on how Sam was truly an educational innovator. So, as one of Sam's big goals was for him to be an Eagle Scout, and that is a very difficult task, as very few people actually make it through the entire rank of the Boy Scout to become an Eagle Scout. And to become an Eagle Scout, you must have a project that's big enough in scope that the committee deems you can become an Eagle Scout. So Sam combined his own disease and his Eagle Scout ambitions to create a billboard on Route 1 for progeria research. This billboard was prominently displayed, as you can see in the picture, and helped spread awareness about the disease, because as it affects only 1 in every 4 to 8 million people, very few people knew about it outside of the Foxborough community. So this billboard really helped spread the disease and garner funding for the disease. Then he went on TED Med in April of 2012 to talk with Dr. Collins, who was the director of the National Institute of Health. And essentially he talked about his experience with clinical trials, and he talked about the importance of him being in the clinical trial, because clinical trials were the only solution where the drug could actually be tested and a hope could be found for the cure. Now Sam, like most people, didn't like the clinical trial, but he knew that he was one of the few people who could make a difference, and because he had the disease. So in this, he was able to participate in the clinical trial, and scientists were able to gather evidence on the disease, which would help, hopefully, find the cure one day. Then Sam, again, went on a TEDx talk in October of this past October, and he talked about how he dealt with daily life, essentially. With progeria, he had many physical limitations. However, he was determined to enjoy life to its fullest while also achieving as many dreams. As he said in the TED Talk, you can do so much that you can't focus on what you cannot do. You can do so much, and life is so precious that you have to seize hold of that opportunity. And this talk especially inspired a lot of our students, because it showed them that if you work hard enough and if you are dedicated, you can achieve your dreams. And this was one of the major ways that Sam was an educator. Now lastly, as most of you know, Sam had a documentary, Life According to Sam. And this documentary wasn't to make him famous, but it was to, again, promote awareness for the disease, because only by spreading the word about the disease would they eventually find the cure. So Sam agreed to make this documentary, and as since such, millions of people have watched it and learned about progeria and donated to progeria and really made a difference. And as we said, that millions of people watched both the progeria research and the TED Talk. So Sam's words and ideas have greatly impacted the educational world and been used as an inspiration for people across the country. When people look at Sam, they see how someone can truly accomplish their dreams even with such high odds stacked against them. Also, his, as we mentioned before, spreading awareness about progeria will have a great future impact on the medical research and one day the cure.
Starting from 8th grade, Sam was thoroughly determined to play an integral role in the Foxborough High School marching band. Yet right from the start he faced obstacles at which most other people would just accept defeat and move on. But Sam, who never took no for an answer, found a way to get past these challenges and do what he wanted. Being physically incapable of carrying a drum, Sam and his parents built a specially engineered snare drum and harness so he could then march with the percussion section in the halftime show. This was the beginning of Sam's impact on the music program, where he showed that not even physical limits could prevent success in the music world. From early on, we could tell he was a phenomenal percussionist that was a perfect fit for Foxborough's highly recognized band. Coupled with his drive to be the best, Sam proved that success came to anyone willing to work for it.
Sam continued his tradition of excellence by making first chair in the junior district band as a freshman. In doing this, he took on the responsibility of representing Foxborough at the festival simply because he felt it was important. Even after making such an impact in his freshman year, Sam kept pushing the bar on what could be done. He became a section leader in his sophomore year and worked tirelessly to improve not only himself but also his whole section. After making the senior district band again in 10th grade, he worked even harder to achieve his dream goal, which was to be first chair in the district band. And he achieved this goal as well, getting the highest score in the region as well as garnering an all-state recommendation.
The mark Sam left on the band was powerful in so many ways. His pursuit of perfection motivated others to work harder, smarter, and longer so that they wouldn't be left in the dust by his skill. His willingness to give up time to work with others when time was his most precious resource showed his commitment to his community and his firm belief that the lives of others were just as important as his own. His advice and input greatly affected the lives of others and the way they approached music, and in some cases, the way they approached life. According to Foxborough Public Schools, an educator is someone who shows leadership, educational innovation, exceptional teaching, and is recognized by their peers because of their impact on the community. Sam, in the light of the major challenges he faced, became a role model in the band and made all those around him follow his example and strive to be the best musician they could. His compassion and knowledge made people listen to what he had to say and take his lessons to heart. To us, Sam was a remarkable teacher, musician, and friend that will never be replaced, and we hope you feel that way as well. Thank you for your time.
You can stay right there. You can have other people. The committee may have more questions for you, so those who presented stay in the vicinity for a minute.
First of all, on behalf of the committee, I want to thank you all for this presentation. You all have all spoken so eloquently of your friend, of your dear friend. So moving. I don't think words can really do justice in terms of my response, listening to all of you. And I think that you have truly represented, in my mind, exactly what this policy states in terms of all of the wonderful examples that you've given us this evening about Sam. You've just all done an amazing job. I want to open it up to the rest of the committee to have their feedback. Yes.
Well, something else that I'd like to say to all the students and to Sam's parents who are here, because we haven't had a chance to talk to you guys, is we are so very proud of all of you. And we've talked about that at this meeting a few times. You haven't been here, and it's great to see you all here. I wish it wasn't for the reason it was. But we are very, very proud of how you have all handled yourselves and grown through this process. This is a process, but ranging from the things we see on the walls behind us, the cranes down the other end of the school, and I'm sure countless other things that we have not seen at this table, regardless of how we discuss this topic going forward, regardless of that, what's important for you to know first and foremost is we are very, very proud of this class of students, and I don't mean the seniors or the juniors, I mean collectively. You guys have done just a very, very good job getting through something that's really hard for all of us. So we're proud of you, and I want you to know that.
I never have anything to say.
That's not true.
May I?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. What Bruce said, yes. Amen to the 10th power from all of us. I think that's true. We do this because we love you and we love this community. And the little light that shines that Sam has been wicked by you. And I love that. And I love your presentation. And, you know, I was thinking about this crowd, this movement, and the core nucleus being, you know, the light of Sam enduring around town. And I remembered being a kid, and sometimes I still do it with my children, and I always ask them, you know, like, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? And, you know, I always wanted to fly. And I'd play with my daughters and do that. You know, you're riding in the car, and I asked my kids once, and my 12-year-old said that she'd like to lay hands and cure. And that's what Sam did with his family. So the dedication that you're proposing is an honor to the parents and the family and the loved ones of Sam that gave him that energy, in my opinion. I could be wrong, I often am, but I loved what you and you and you and you and you and you all just said. And I know you're one of the bros because I work with your mother. And I want to hear you play Piany one of these days.
You're two of the bros, I think. So.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So the bros are here, and I just want to say this is an excellent pitch.
It's a 3 for 3.
It's not even a pitch; it's more like a service. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say that the students all did an excellent job. I mean, when I went through and read the policy, I said they need to hit every single point in order to make their case, and you all did. You did a really good job. You gave great examples, and I think we all had the privilege of knowing Sam and sort of seeing him in action in the band and in Boy Scouts and in school. But you did a really good job of explaining, perhaps to people who did not know Sam, why he fits within these criteria. And you did a great job. I have no words, no more words. Excellent job.
Thank you. Bev, do you want to?
Sam had a capacity to draw people to him and around him. He had a wisdom beyond his years, and to me, he does represent real community. When asked, who's your favorite player, he totally understood. He said, I can't have a favorite player because it takes a team to win a game. And Sam loved Legos so much, I very much wanted to take him to the Lego movie that has just come out. Well, I sat through it, and it's too much to get in one showing. So this afternoon, I went again. And I have the it's almost like the theme song of that movie was written about Sam, because it is so positive. And the title of it is Everything is Awesome. And one of the best lines in the entire movie, everything is cool when you're part of a team. Wow. And that turf field is teamwork. It is the community that started it. It is the NFL who contributed. It is the school system and the voters who helped move us forward with our budget. And it belongs to the community. And if it were named for Sam, it would represent that to everybody from now on.
So I see that those are amazing points from the movie, and I didn't even know that connection, but I would say Sam's team is certainly here tonight.
And I thought of you all, they used the word bro, and I said, oh, I gotta tell the bros.
Oh, Please,
I've
no,
got
I'm
to
interested.
help, bro.
But I see that we also
Yes.
have, we have people here that represent our community beyond the schools and recreation department, and this is a community field. And I brought it to you because students, this is democracy, and when they rise up and say, we would like to make a presentation, there's nothing better than that, because that's what your education's all about. So I brought it to you because I certainly do recommend this proposal the students are saying. And regardless of, I want to say before the vote, there's just nothing better than when your sharp minds and your caring hearts come together and you apply those two things with such purpose like you have tonight. I mean, there's nothing better than that. And that just shows you're not just citizens of the school, you are really citizens of this community. And that's what Sam was. So be more proud, really, of all of you. And thank you, all the rest of you people who turned out. That's really good,
Fortunately,
too.
they're not only citizens of our community, they are citizens of our world. And I promise you, I wish every high school had students like you coming forward. We would have nothing to worry in the world if there are people like you. So keep going, all of you.
Bruce?
So I think the only question in my mind is, and Debbie just alluded to this was billed as a community field. I think if this was just a school field, we all know, this conversation would be very short, but I don't know, Debbie, if you talked to Deb or Heather or anyone else, if they might like to speak to represent.
I haven't, because this, even though, yes, it is a community field built by the community, it's on school property, and the naming of it resides with you per policy. They don't think they have a policy. But I would be more than happy to hear from, I'm sure with the whole committee, we'd be more than happy to hear from anybody who has a different perspective other than ours.
Absolutely. Debbie, do you want to just go?
That's,
Just
yeah,
wait.
Deb,
Yeah.
Deb Giordano, Rec Department.
Yeah, Deb.
Director.
Yeah.
Thanks. That easy. You don't know the.
You don't have voting rights, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Just remember.
Did you hear what Deb said? She said no voting rights, but we do want to hear from you.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much for my opinion, for allowing me to sit up here and give you my opinion, because I didn't expect to. I came to support the students and everybody else that wanted this field to be named after Sam. And it is a community field. And with that in mind, with the school behind it, and if Foxborough Recreation can do its small part in also representing the community, we too would like to fall in with the kids and with whatever your committee may decide. And speaking on behalf of myself and Heather Harding, the only two that are here from Recreation, and Beverly, pardon me, I would like to give you our full support and congratulations to everybody that spoke. You did a great job. You were awesome, awesome kids. And now it's all up to you. Good luck.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie, for your input. Yes, Joe, would you like to just state your name, please, and
My name's Joe Garrity, and I'm from Foxborough High School. And I was wondering if they were going to do a garden out in the front like they did for Charlie Anderson over at the Ahern.
No, this is about naming the turf field as one of our facilities. So we're working on gardens, as you know, from food service to do, through that to do as a project. So at different times, Joe, at different times, people honor people in different ways, and this is a very specific policy. And so this makes it a very different situation because, I mean, I know personally, I don't know anyone other than Sam that's had a worldwide, far-reaching impact, and I know Mr. Massey said the same, as he's the most inspirational person he ever met. So at each time, Joe, people come forward with what they think is appropriate to honor certain people, and we're here tonight just to talk about this one.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks for your question. Is there any further discussion or comments that any other members of the committee want to make?
I just have one more comment. I guess what is the exact proposed name of the field?
That's a great question.
We've sort of informally talked about that, and I think, they had a really big presentation to do. So my advice to the students, I'll share, was that I don't think they had to worry about all those details tonight. That the support of the committee, if it's there to dedicate the field to Sam, and some of the logistics can be worked out later. I don't know what you guys talked about. So whether it's whatever
So it's a go forward?
whatever place they want there that would be able to have something about him.
I think they're conferring, so
Yeah,
if you
they're
want to come up to
conferring. Come on
the
up.
microphone to
We had a
respond,
brief
you can.
conference about this, but it's their proposal. So let's just see what their latest thought is, because I did advise them they don't have to have everything ironed out tonight. The purpose of tonight was the support.
One of the thoughts that we had was Sam Burns' community field, but we weren't like for sure of a name, and it would it would kind of depend, but that was just a thought that we had.
I like
Yeah,
that
I
you're
like
keeping
having
community in
community
there.
tied in as well.
It's very succinct. It says all we needed to say. What we
Yes,
need.
when the,
Yes.
when the, what are your targets for having the next steps or giving us a timeline to think about? Welcome to a little bit of bureaucracy here, but.
Or I don't mind answering for them, you know, because.
What is it, Debbie? Debbie.
I did tell them that if there was the question that was maybe more mine than
Yeah,
theirs, that I
yeah.
would, you know.
Step in?
Yeah, I would participate, let's just say. I think we all know why we're here tonight, so we'd certainly like to see what happens with that. But I think the rest is as it should be, a community effort. So what I think the students have, I know, I'll speak personally, way more creative ideas than I do. So they've already got some seeds of ideas, I know, they invited us to their initial presentation, which I was completely pulled away. I thought it was gonna be like a little conversation with a few kids, and they already had their presentation ready, so I was impressed from the get-go. But I think they have some ideas as to what they want that Danny referenced, and they have also ideas about fundraising. I mean, they're way ahead of us. So they can certainly choose then as a student group representing multiple student organizations at the high school to decide to fundraise for certain pieces of it. And then our job is to continue moving forward with our phases, as you know. So I think both can happen simultaneously, and one can go and the other one can go, and they have their interest in that personalization of the dedication. If tonight goes in a favorable way, and they can work on that, and we can continue to work on what the harder part, which is the rest of the money for all the other phases.
Well, with that being said, why don't we move it to?
I think that'd be great.
To
The other point I think I mentioned to you, I want to remind the committee that when the turf field was finished in October, we never had a dedication because it was starting to be winter, the teams were playing more. We do have to coordinate that with the NFL grassroots organization and representatives, and with the craft organization, who is the conduit by which the
Right, that's right. With the
Turf's Up
donation, yep.
grant came. So that was our problem in late fall, early winter, is that they coordinate that, and we couldn't coordinate it, or they couldn't coordinate it. So sometimes things happen for a reason. So there actually hasn't been a dedication of the community field yet. So that's important, I think, for the committee to note now, that you're not undoing something that's already been done.
Okay. All right, yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
Are you ready?
Yes, I am. I've been waiting.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we make plans to name the new turf field at Foxborough High School in honor of Sam Burns, with details to be finalized, submitted, and reviewed by this committee.
I'd like to second that. Well,
Okay.
we all want to second it.
Okay.
Seconded by 4.
Any further discussion?
Or any friendly amendments to the way I worded that?
I think it's succinct enough for us to go forward.
Yes. All those.
Thank you.
Let me just check the wording on the
Okay,
policy.
okay.
Just that it says, wait a minute, I'm got ahead of myself. Oh, thanks.
There's nothing specific in the policy.
No.
I think it's perfect.
So it's to, I don't know what word you should use, recognize or dedicate or something. So the community.
Honor. Isn't that what the title of the agenda item is it honoring?
It's
that the verb?
naming an existing.
Do we want to have it read back to us?
What Mr. Gardner had just said?
Yes.
Yes.
Make plans to name the new turf field at Foxborough High School in honor of Sam Burns, with details to be finalized and submitted at a later date.
Okay, so
Do we
omit.
want to make plans, or do we
No.
want to?
We want to
honor
name.
Sam-
We want to name it.
Honoring Sam Burns.
I think it's semantics, but I'm happy to
Amend.
to amend.
Okay.
I'm only worried about making plans. So if the vote is to make plans, I'm worried that legally
Yes.
that
No.
doesn't.
Right.
That's all.
I will monitor my or amend my
Yes.
motion To say that,
Dedicating? Oh, okay.
to say that I move that we name the new Foxborough High School turf field
Yes.
in honor of Sam Burns, with details to be finalized by this committee.
Is that good? Is that good, Deb?
I love that
Okay,
one.
and second, do we have a, oh, we don't need one because we were meant to, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes.
Would all the students in favor, please raise your hand.
Could we ask the students to stay for the budget overview?
They might have some homework to do. Mr. and Mrs.
We
Burns,
would
yes, please, go ahead.
love to recognize
Yes.
Dr. Scott Burns and
Thank you.
Dr. Leslie Gordon.
Yes.
Also known as Sam's.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Scott Burns, and this is my wife, Leslie Gordon. We did not come prepared tonight to make any remarks, and we have been compelled and inspired to say a few words. We're very fortunate to live in this town, and we're very fortunate to be here with you all here tonight at this meeting, and Sam would be so proud of all of you and I'm looking at all the students from all the grades, and I can't even imagine how much work went into that presentation, and you guys really knocked it out of the park. We thank the committee for passing this, and Leslie and I stand prepared to help with this endeavor in any way that we can, including helping with the fundraising effort. So we'll be right behind you all the way. And we really haven't had an opportunity to thank the entire town. And since we are in this public forum, I wanted to also thank the entire town for your love and support. And we felt it, and I know we'll continue to feel that. So on behalf of Leslie and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank
job,
you.
Team
Yes.
Sam.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
I know.
Oh.
Can I, to Team Sam here, I jotted down quickly another couple of more of the lyrics. Everything is special when we stick together, when we're living a dream, when we're side by side, when we're working in harmony. I think you need to get the music to that song and learn how to play it.
Yeah. Thank you, Bev.
Wow, that's coincidence. That's awesome. So we're going to move
Okay.
on to the rest of our.
We are. Thank you again,
Students, you're
students,
wonderful
thank you.
citizens of the
Yes.
community, but to ask you to stay for
Yes.
the budget update.
You will not insult
a
us
lot,
if you
so
decide to leave.
Carry on with
Yes.
your usual evening
Yes.
routines.
Thank you again so much for coming.
Bill, don't take it personally.
I'd be leaving too.
If you could, huh?
Nice try, Mr. Euclid. Oh, in a tattoo.
Thank you.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Deb. See you later, alligator.
Okay. All right. I guess we will move on to Y14 budget update, Mr. Euchner.
Okay, you have it in front of you. It's basically as of February 27th, last week, and only a few minor changes on the salary side. Again, as we go through the year, we We'll tweak it for anything that's, potentially somebody leaving on a maternity leave, or if we have a position that we haven't filled yet, and we're hoping to fill it, obviously we'll start to adjust for those so that we truly know where we're going as we move forward in the year. So at this point, we're about just under $111,000 on the salary side to the good, and we're about $32,800 shy on the expense side, which I'll go into a few of the details on that. So our overall, at this it stands today, would be $78,000, assuming you approve what's in this, update. As far as the expense side, as we discussed in the past, a lot of it has to do with some moving parts. The career to school to career specialist being moved from a salary to from expense to a salary line, changing our temporary scorekeepers and stuff into salary versus an expense, and moving the money along with it. So the major changes really in this particular rendition is that we have been working on a number of issues, a couple of them which we were able to accomplish during the February vacation. We encountered an issue at the high school here with the generator, the backup generator, which great machine, but it is about as old as the building is. And in doing one of our test runs, we found that we had some issues with it starting and some leaks that were involved with it. So we took the time while the school was going to be out of session to tear the machine apart and to basically rebuild the issues. It's probably about a $70,000 or $80,000 generator, and so for about $9,000 we were able to rebuild all the issues that we had with it, and it's running very well now. So basically what I'm looking is to move $9,000 from the surplus into covering that expense. We also originally discussed moving $20,000 to $25,000 from the school rental revolving account to cover the final cost on the Taylor generator. But at this point, I think I would ask you to leave that money where it stands, because we probably will have a need for it based on the turf field and the softball fields as we move forward, because of obviously trying to finish everything in one fell swoop here. So I'd like to try to use that $20,000 from the current budget surplus to cover the generator. And as an update on that generator, it's actually installed, and the cutover is planned for this Saturday. So that building will be 100% covered, and we will move that to be the emergency shelter as we go forward here. We have to file with the state and a few other formalities there. The other thing was there was a few electrical things while we're taking the advantage of the February break that we found that we're trying to deal with on the new data center, and so we went into accomplishing those, and that was about another $14,000. So that's really what's generating most of our difference. We do have an issue with the utilities. As you all know, this has been somewhat of an extraordinary year from a temperature point of view. Everything you read and see is showing that the degree days are much higher in this particular year than they have been. And therefore, our gas bill actually up to the end of February is about $35,000 over budget. We think there's enough in it for the rest of the year, so I'm not too concerned about that. Our electric bill actually is running about $15,000 under budget, so we've got a net difference of about $20,000. And I think that's the electricity running better is because we did do some final large things last year as far as energy conservation replacements and stuff. So that's actually paying off. But with the fuel going the other way on us, so we need about $20,000. And when you make all these adjustments, that gets us that surplus of $78,000 still to move forward. So I think we're okay as far as making them, and I think this basically puts us in pretty good stead as far as maintaining the buildings and the equipment that we have.
Okay, so you need a motion for us to accept.
Yes, please.
Any discussion?
I have discussion, but I'll motion to accept, and then we can get into discussion.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept the budget.
I will make a motion that we accept the budget as presented.
Okay, so you first.
I'll second Bev's motion.
Okay.
Is it a vote on the budget or the changes to the existing budget? Because we already
It's on
voted
the
on the
budget
budget.
summary.
Yeah.
It's on the budget summary.
Which is effectively the adjustments that happen
Right,
at any
okay.
point in time.
To approve the budget
A summary.
update.
Summary, okay, yep.
But discussion.
Well, just comments a little bit more about the winter. I'm obviously not surprised that utility expense is over. I think we're fortunate, and I know how closely you watch the overall budget and try to figure out how to offset that, and you're talking about ways to do that here. Are there any other concerns? Does the town pick up all of the plowing, the salt, the snow removal, the?
Yeah, I think some of the costs that we run into in a much higher basis, trying again to keep, especially because this winter's a little unusual, where we've had a lot of heavy snows, quick thaws, freezes, so we're getting a lot more ice, obviously. So things like the ice melt that we'll use on the buildings themselves, we buy. And we've gone through about 3 times what we normally go through to keep the sidewalks safe and to keep the fronts of the buildings safe and the parking lots. But everything else, really, we're very fortunate with the arrangements that we have, that the town manages the general plowing, they manage the salting and sanding on the bigger parking lots of that nature. As you know, you guys agreed last year to buy a pickup truck with a plow, which has been a godsend to have this year because it can actually supplement what the DPW does in a very small sense. I mean, it really is able to get to sidewalks, the big sidewalks at the high school as an example, or even just be able to do a cleanup pass when we're waiting for a bus to come through, like we had to do a couple times this year when buses were going out for field trips and things like that. I think the working relationship between the town and what we do has been working out extremely well. And, I think that's why we, hopefully you guys agree, but we have been supplementing them as well as far as on the maintenance side. We kind of do some things for them as well. So I think it's a give and take relationship that's worked out well.
But in terms of any other exposures from, obviously you would call them out, but that's why there aren't others because of how this works.
We really do monitor all the way down on pretty much every level, whether it's transportation or facilities. Obviously, as I said, with salaries, we're looking by every individual on a monthly basis to see if there's any kind of adjustments we have to worry about. So we really, I think at this point, I'm very comfortable with what we're showing you. And by being able to do some of these things, which typically would have been things we would have done during the summer, but obviously I can't hold off on generators because they're life safety. Having to take the advantage of when we can, so having the funding, I think, is.
Well, I think we're probably pretty lucky to have a net surplus position. I bet there are towns that, with the winter we've had, and don't have staffing changes to offset, they're probably in tougher shape.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A tough winter.
Okay, thank you.
Oof. It isn't over yet.
Oh.
No.
But it's daylight savings this weekend.
That's right. Okay, so we've got a first, a second motion. Any other further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
The Borough School Statement of Interest.
I think last year, hopefully you all remember, except for Steve,
exactly like this.
wasn't on. Actually, I have a draft here of the thing, but the state has gotten smart. They basically realize people who don't get it will more than likely take what they did last time and just move forward with it. So they do have a process where I actually am able to submit, and I finished it today with basically taking last year's submission on the borough and then redrafting it into the FY14 version. Now I am going through it and I'm wordsmithing it and I'm trying to obviously make things clear as I possibly can with them. But I also will tell you that I've printed off about 7 other districts' statement of interest to see if maybe we were just missing the mark on how we were doing this. And to be honest with you, I think ours is the most detailed out of all of them. So I figured that,
No, it's just a matter of being a large flock.
Yeah, but I will say there is one thing, and this is, it's right at the very beginning of their whole process. There are 8 criteria in which they basically will judge any project. And I think they're pretty much in the order in which they look at them. So somebody who is able to click off the first one, which is replace, renovate of a building which is in structurally unsound or otherwise conditioned seriously jeopardizing the health and safety of school children where no alternative exists.
Is that category 1?
That's category 1, which is very hard for anybody to really do unless you literally have a building that's falling down, because you have to send in engineering reports and everything else. Obviously, the borough, we've done our job as far as maintaining, so the borough is not going to qualify under that. But any district who can would more than likely be in the top of the priority list for the state. The second one is to eliminate existing severe overcrowding. Again, we've been fortunate. We fit within the building. We don't have all the space we need as far as dedicated computer labs and things of that nature, but you won't qualify under the severe overcrowding.
So can I just do, so I'm just thinking about the no good deed goes unpunished kind of thing. So if you're a town that hasn't maintained your building, you literally have a building that's unsafe and children in it, you would go to the priority list. So
Right. Which is-
and then category 2 means you haven't planned longitudinally for your population and you've run out of building space, and so you get in the front of the. So anyway, continue. I'm just trying to put some context to this.
But what's interesting is because what has somewhat morphed out of the MSBA is years ago, they gave you extra credit for being a district that paid attention to its buildings because they realized that your costs were going to be a lot less than if you had to tear a building down and start all over. That doesn't seem to be the true measure anymore. And it could be just because of level of funding. It really, they're trying to deal with critical issues first. The third one was prevention of prevention of the loss of accreditation. Obviously, I think the district has done very well that it's not going to lose its accreditation because of the condition of the borough. And then, again, another issue around severe overcrowding based on increased enrollments, expectation, which we don't see. And we finally get to the fifth one, which is where we finally qualify, and that's a replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems, such as roofs, windows, boiling, heating systems, ventilation systems, to increase the energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs on a school facility. Obviously, that's exactly what we're talking about. We have a drafty building in the sense that it's single-pane windows. We have a roof that leaks, although we continue to repair the roof and try to maintain it for as long as we can. We have a boiler system and ventilation system that's as old as the building, and quite honestly, close to unserviceable at this point as far as parts. So we definitely fall within number 5. Number 6 is a short-term enrollment growth. We again don't see that coming. And number 7 is replacement or addition of obsolete building in order to provide a full range of programs consistent with state and approved local requirements. We qualify under that because again, we are not able to do with the full scope of requirements for like a full lab for computer sciences. Our preschool classrooms really aren't the appropriate size or design for the feature. They would never be built the way they are today. We have a number of issues within the building relative to bathrooms, handicap accessibility, and things of that nature. So, and then the final one is just a court order requirement to do it. So we fit 5 and 7 out of 8. Lower on the scale, but again, I think we've defined the statement of interest to fully highlight all of the issues we have. And last year, just so you understand, this is the actual book that went into them as far as the documentation, reports that we had done, pictures, all of the state report itself. So I think we give them everything they asked for. And as much as I'd like to say it could be our turn this year, the article in the Sun, in the Globe on Sunday was somewhat disconcerting, where they saw Lakeville is on their 6th attempt to get their high school funded by the MSBA. So it's not as much of a slam dunk as you'd like to think in getting this done. So, but that all said, with one of the first requirements I have, and I'm meeting obviously tonight with you guys, but tomorrow night with the Board of Selectmen, is they require within the minutes, the body of the minutes, the exact wording in which I supplied you with, be in your minutes and approved. So it goes in as part of this package. Basically, all it's stating, that it states, number 1, that you recognize there's no guarantee to getting these funds, but it basically says is that you are behind the process of the superintendent supplying a statement of interest for the renovation and addition of the borough school. And that's all it says.
So we should probably just read the text of the first part of the vote so that because people at home can see it. So it says, resolved, having convened an open meeting on March 3rd prior to the closing date, the school committee of the town of Foxborough, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated April 11, 2014, for the Borough Elementary School located at 16 Morse Street, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Category 5, replacement, renovation, and modernization of school facility systems such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in a school facility, with detail under that as to what specifically is a borough. In Category 7, replacement of or addition to obsolete building in order to provide for a full range of programs consistent with state and approved local requirements, with details under that as to what that means for the borough school. And hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting the statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the city, town, regional school district to filing an application
for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Could I make a motion that we accept this document as presented and written for the next move into the Board of Selectmen and then to the MSBA as policy and procedure dictates?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Okay. Thank you very much.
Katie, can I just ask Bill one more question?
Yeah, sure.
So, Bill, just for general public and reminder for me, so if we continue to go for a long period without this being approved, are there next steps that we can take locally or should think about, or?
Well, I think the process that we've been kind of working through, as you know, not this last summer, but the summer before, as part of our whole process, and we used funding that we received through the town as well as some of the school funding, we fully renovated the parking, handicap accessibility from the exterior side of the building. This summer, we did some roof work, again, to try to maintain the integrity of the system. The way I guess I look at it is, and it makes it a little tough because of the scope of work that we need to do, but you know, in the worst of cases, if this continues to get delayed, I guess I would make recommendations to the committee to use some of our excess money at the end of each year to continue to do whatever we can towards that building improvement. It's very hard because, again, the second you jump on this in any large way, boiler systems alone, $200,000-$300,000, roofing systems, same type of money. So it's not like we, you know, and again, once you start doing that, then you start triggering the different codes relative to bringing it up to code for handicap accessibility. It's like one thing pushes the other. So you can only do really what I would call, you know, just good maintenance practices, which will keep the building, you know, in good shape, you know, at least usable, and but, you know, obviously not to the level we'd like to see it.
Yes.
May I follow on with
Yeah.
Liz's comment? So if we do find the horizon way off for the school, do we ultimately have to submit both the Burrell and the Taylor down the line? Like, is the Taylor catching up to the Burrell to the point where we have to go, now we have two schools that need, you know, some help?
Well, there's the
Or
Taylor...
rather for the state aid. Rather.
Yeah, the Taylor itself, about 5 years ago, the school committee approved, and the town helped fund the replacement of the roof. So that is got a brand new roof, similar to what we've done on the other buildings. It's actually one of the best that you can put in. Obviously, you've approved the generator upgrade, or not an upgrade, there wasn't one. So the installation of a new generator for that building, which gives us some life safety things improved. So we're able to make little, you know, dents onto that building on a progressive basis, which I think, again, is it the same as going through and totally renovating and redoing windows and doors and stuff? No, but it's, you know, we're making strides towards keeping that a safe and clean environment as well. I give the custodial staff and maintenance staff, you know, great marks for really in all of our facilities. I think Deb made the comment the other day with the Secretary of the Education coming through and saying how clean the buildings were and how well they looked like they're respected. I think they get that way because the maintenance crew does what it does, and therefore the students react appropriately. I think if you don't take care of your facilities, I quite honestly think that the students, you know, see that and feel the same lack of pride. So, so I think from my perspective, I think the Taylor is second in line for sure. We've done more for it as we've had the opportunity to, and the Burrell is really the one that you know, we need to try to strive to get this. The unfortunate thing here, as far as both your comments, as far as this being moved down the road, it's a year at a time. You just don't know.
Right, yeah.
So it's not like they're telling you, you know, you're going to get it in 4 years so you can make a decision on to do something. It could be this coming December. It could be the following December. Who knows?
That's why it makes me think about the, you know, what if scenario, you know.
Okay, well, thank you for that update, and we'll keep our fingers crossed, right, moving forward. All right, the proposed school committee meeting dates, Ms. Finelli.
Yes, so we usually, you know, have you approve your meeting dates for next year, and it looks pretty much exactly what you've always seen, except for one change that I'd like to call to your attention. So typically, you have one meeting in September, because you have one at the very end of August, and then you have two in October. I have a personal conflict on October 6th, so I'm going to call that to your attention. We happen to be lucky in that September starts earlier than it usually does. So we have 2 Mondays that you could have meetings 2 weeks apart in September, on the 15th and the 29th, and then have the one in October. But if you prefer to do what you've been doing, then you would have the one on the 15th of September, and you could still have meetings on the 6th and the 20th, but I have a personal conflict on that date that I know way ahead of time. So if you, just thought I'd put it on the 29th of September, but it's totally up to the committee. You can have a meeting without me, it's fine.
I don't want to have a meeting. What? What did Joe say?
Joe will take over for
You're going to take it. Perfect.
I think
What are
that's
you doing next 2 weeks from now? No kidding. That's perfect, Joe. You probably do it better than I could, so that's wonderful.
So basically, we're going to have 2 meetings in September that we normally would just have one. I
Yes.
think that's great, and it's at the end of the month. So I would prefer to.
You have a lot of
I
business
like-
at the beginning of the year anyway. But
Yeah.
We do, and I like this system that it's setting it up a pattern for every other week, which is the usual pattern right throughout the year.
So other than that, it's traditionally the 1st and 3rd Mondays, unless it's a Monday holiday, which goes to the 1st and the 4th. Usually.
Debbie, does it make any sense in March to look at going to the 2nd and 4th, just so we don't have back-to-back like we are right now? Or no, is it?
We talked about, that's up to you. Your tradition, may I say, is the 1st and 3rd Mondays, and then the selectmen is the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays. So sometimes when you need a 1-2 vote, like is happening this week, it works out better, but that's totally up to the will of the committee.
I say, well, I mean, we can always cancel it if we feel like maybe if we meet and then we're finding that we don't have enough agenda items for the following week. I'd prefer to keep it as, because it's
when you
part of our
move it, wiggle it
policy.
around like that, because
People get
people
confused.
remember the 1st and 3rd, and sometimes if
It's
you
been-
move too many,
Isn't it
they'll
part of our
get
policy
confused.
too? It states in our policy when the 1st and 3rd.
I believe so.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to deviate from that unless.
Because
we-
if, in the event that we need to, we can always
Absolutely.
change it just before, with plenty of time, just before.
Or cancel that,
know
the
what you mean, though,
26th,
'cause Janet and I- Janet brought
not
that up, we
26th,
talked about
the
it.
23rd. If we find that we don't, because this is, like last year, I think we just had one February meeting. I don't remember having 2.
We did, but it's because of the back-to-back and having,
Right.
usually January is kind of intense with all the budget
That's right.
discussion. And so if there isn't a lot coming up, that's happened when
Right.
Dr. Martis was here as well. But then we had back-to-back this week, but we have business, so.
Right.
it
So boom,
depends.
right.
That's fine.
And just refresh my recollection, in May, we don't meet the night before the election.
No.
Okay.
Well, it's town meeting.
It's town,
Oh, town meeting.
Town meeting
No,
is
we
not-
we
it's
vote
not
on
May
Mondays.
4th.
one of the,
We
no,
vote
but
on
one of the
Monday.
meetings in May essentially substitutes for your regular business meeting
Oh,
because
the 11th would be
It's the
town meeting, so
elections,
we move it.
The
I
town
see.
meeting, it's always the election, then the town meeting, and then our meeting.
Yep.
So that's why we just
May.
have one.
That was what I
Okay.
thought, but I just.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the proposed school committee meeting dates? To accept them, actually.
I will move to accept the proposed school committee meeting dates for the
Which will no longer be
calendar year
proposed, but will become the meeting.
There you go.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
for 2014-15.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0, thank you. Oh, and now we're moving on to other matters, our last item.
Yes, I want to thank
Agenda.
Mrs. Myers-Pakla and look, Mrs. Abrams. I want to thank Mrs. Myers because she waited because she knew I was going to bring something up under other matters that she can answer better than I can, so thanks, Diana. I'm sure the cot down the hall will come in handy tonight. The one that's not going to require, come on up because I know they're going to have questions, is, just want to remind the committee, our CIP meeting townwide is this Saturday from 8 to 2, so if you have any other questions, that's, my business and Bill. But if you have any other further questions on the CIP projects that you approved back in January, let me know, but I just wanted to remind the committee that it's this Saturday, and I will have an update for you at our next meeting as to how the CIP project's made out. We wanted to bring up again the high school PE requirements. So what I learned is that I can't just wait a week and then have a complete update on how everybody did because the kids are still in the process. So I thought best to have Diana back and explain where we are and address any more questions that you have at this point. But perhaps I thought the timeline was, could be exacted in a shorter fashion, and I was absolutely wrong. So go ahead.
It does not work that way, as much as we would like it sometimes too. our guidance department began the week after vacation, which was what, just last week, wasn't it? It seems
Yeah,
like
I
it was
know.
forever ago. Began last week meeting with our students to take a look at what they had put into the computer as far as their course selections. And so they sit down with all of the students. They say, this is what you've selected. Let's take a look at electives. Let's make sure that you've got several electives in there in case something doesn't fit, if there are two singletons that fall one on top of the other. So they're working through that process right now. Once all of that is put into the computer, we do a roll. It's usually, everything kind of gets cleaned up by about April vacation to kind of give you a timeline on it. And we do a roll, and what we look for is somewhere between 80 and 85% of matches, of not having conflicts, with a 15% or less conflict. Some years we've been very lucky and it's been much higher, but that's usually what you aim for. The higher the better, of course, with not having conflicts. Then what happens is we also have to take a look at, I should back up too, we also have to take a look at the number of students that have elected into certain courses. That goes to the department heads. The department heads then, this is how many people we have in FTEs, how many sections of each are we going to run, and at what numbers are we going to run those particular sections. We always hope that with our college prep, the numbers are a little bit less, potentially, than what our honors classes might be. And we've been very fortunate to be able to run several of our classes on the high end and on the other end as well, in smaller numbers. So that's always a good thing too, that we're able to really meet and accommodate the student selections. So all of that being done, all of those sections being put in, we roll that schedule, again, hoping for that very higher percentage, or that high percentage on a lack of conflicts. Once we get that, then the conflicts are pulled out, the students are pulled out who have conflicts, and guidance starts that process with that either 15, 10, or 8%, whatever it might be, of students to say, okay, here you go. You know, we've got conflict here. It's two singletons that are backed up. What is it that you're interested in taking? And it could mean a whole flip of many classes in some cases for some students saying, no, I definitely don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. So we won't know. Well, our students leave, let me tell you this too. Our students leave in June knowing the list of classes that they have, not the teachers that they have, because teachers can change. You know, we can hire somebody new because somebody decides not to come back, or just due to some changes that might take place, somebody who had taught something might not be teaching it the next year. So the students have a list of the classes that they do go home with in the summertime, so that they have that. Come September, they'll receive their schedule. Some little tweaks might happen over the summer. They'll receive their schedule with the classes, the teachers, the places that they're all at. So that's pretty much the process of what is happening. I know as far as the PE and the PE electives are concerned, I can't tell you what's hot and what's not. They were pretty much even up on Friday when I had a quick conversation with guidance. And again, it's a laborious process because our guidance team does meet with all of the students. So, you know, to make those picks and to make those selections does take time. And so that really does happen throughout March, and then we roll from there into April. So that's where we're at.
So it's a very long process.
It is.
So to summarize, it's students individually select.
Yes.
And then we look to see how that played out. So do we have sections that are big enough? Do we have sections that are too big?
Correct.
How many sections we're going to run? Classic example is, I think you told me we had 40 students enroll in the new engineering course.
Yes.
Pretty
So
exciting.
far.
How many?
40.
40 so far.
So now we're trying to figure out if we can run two sections, because that would be, you know, that was a really high point.
It's very exciting.
So, and then after that, the schedule rolls to see if we can roll a schedule with sections and see if everybody fits in. And then the conflicts are worked out in student schedules, and they go home with their course. Okay. So how did yours go? Have you had your appointments yet? No, I haven't. Have you, Ramya? Okay, see? So I was wrong. I mistakenly said last week, I'll let you know next week how everybody's course selection went. So that was a little unrealistic, having never worked in a high school guidance department.
It's been kind of weird because I'm considering dropping a foreign language, and now I have to put in its place other classes, and I'm not getting enough credits in, and it's like, I don't know, because when I added up the first time, it seemed to all work.
So there's a lot of decisions that have to be made.
Yeah, so.
You know, like I've had to go to talk to my guidance counselor about this, because I'm also dropping my language, but I'm going to be taking an AP history class instead of that. So it's like I've had to work around with that.
See, it's all about choices, just what we were talking about last week. There's a lot of things that they have to consider.
Okay, yes.
For your guys' benefit, I don't think you were at the last meeting, but we were talking about the new phys ed requirement
Yeah.
in junior, senior year, right? Are you guys hearing talk about that, about how am I going to fit it in, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think that's what has really made, especially for me, like having, because it's a 0.25 credit, it's not a 0.5 or a whole credit. It's like, so I have to try to like kind of adjust all the classes that I would like to take, and also make sure that I still fulfill the requirements and somehow.
That'll back up
Right.
to a study for you.
Yeah.
This is a decision that we made to require this, but now we're trying to monitor the impact on your schedules. We think it's a good decision. We think the programs are good. It's not going to be typical PE. It's going to be some life fitness skills. And,
Yeah.
but we are interested, at least I'm interested in, I won't speak for the whole committee, but I think I'm interested in the impact it has on you and your day and your studies. So that's why we're asking Mrs. Meyer-Pacla to keep reporting on how it's going.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, like, they understand what we're doing, but they're somewhat frustrated because now they can't take a full year. Like, a lot of people want to take another science course next year for our junior year, but they're not able to because it's taking
Unless
place
they
of it.
exercise one of the creative options.
Yeah.
So there's flexibility depending upon
Yes.
That's still a
individuals.
possibility, they
Yeah.
could do that, it's not like.
And are you guys aware of these flexible options?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
morning, that kind of thing? And it's one semester,
Yeah.
a couple times a block, or
Twice
a cycle.
Twice a week.
Twice a week.
Approximately twice a week.
I thought it was 3 times the cycle.
Yes.
Not the alternative ones, if they do like a before school and after school, those are twice a week.
What if you do the, like, junior and senior requirement?
Well, that, if you pick something that's in the program of studies, then it goes right into your day schedule, which I think most kids will do. It just, if you are one of those kids that wants to take something else, like you are, then you have to really think about how you're gonna.
All right, so we'll wait to hear some more feedback, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just have to congratulate the students tonight. They did a fabulous,
they did.
fabulous job. And
Incredible.
they've worked so hard on this, and
Shows.
so I just really publicly need to just really congratulate them. You all said it well, but they just did a fabulous job. And also a plug tomorrow night that our girls' basketball team is going to the semifinals.
Yes.
It's at Massasoit at 7:45. So we'd love a huge fan base. I know that there is a fan bus going. I'm not sure if the fan bus is going to fill, but we would love to have a lot of folks there to see the students. I think we're the late game at 7:45. So
Who are they playing?
they're playing Duxbury, who is right now undefeated. They're number 1. So, but any given day, there's a Cinderella team out there always. So
That's awesome.
hopefully that's tomorrow night
Yes,
for us. So
thank you for
Yes.
telling us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Thank you very much.
That's great. Anything else under other matters?
Joan, I understand I missed the a cappella choir.
Oh, I was
Oh.
just going to say, I was just going to turn and say
Yes.
thank you very much.
Yes.
And please, for all your fellow singers, thank you for the beautiful a cappella concert.
Thank
the
you for
other night.
coming.
Oh,
Heard grave things, and I'm
Oh, I
embarrassed to say I
love
just
a-
totally forgot. My husband and I had an appointment at 6, so something we're doing in the house, and I kept thinking, I think there was something I had tonight, and I hadn't written it down, and and then the next day, I almost fell over, so.
Oh, it was beautiful.
I'm gonna watch
and
it on TV, though.
creative.
Yes.
I can still watch it on TV, but I
Yes.
always go, it's one of my
Creative.
favorite concerts.
It's, you know, it's funny, it's one of my favorites too, and of course, my son was in it, so I just want to disclose, full disclosure here. But all of the groups.
It's my new
were
favorite thing.
Amazing.
Oh, I love it.
There's so much talent. And the other thing that I loved is that they're so supportive of each other.
Oh, yeah.
And they all seem like they really enjoy what they're doing. So it's a joy to watch.
It is. It's so creative
just-
and interesting, and I would love to have a really good reason, but I have to be honest and say I just totally forgot.
Well, you can catch it on cable, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm going to.
Yes.
Maybe we can
Kudos
invite
to you,
them
though.
back to one of our meetings.
That would
I
be
enjoyed that.
awesome.
Well, we had them
Yes.
last
Oh, I'm
year,
glad
remember?
I'm glad you brought it up. I don't think I
We had
could,
them
but
one
I-
last year. I would love to have them
I
back,
would
so.
love to.
And I want to spring sample the new smoothies that are coming out.
We'll call that an eating highlight, rather than teaching and learning.
Anything else
It's a
under?
wellness highlight,
Yes, okay.
nutritional wellness
I'm all for
highlight.
it.
Mr. Yukner?
I'm sure we can do that.
Anything else under other matters? No? Okay. So I need a motion to adjourn.
I motion that
Second?
we adjourn.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you very much. Good night.
I just have one little thing.